Hi everybody, and welcome to this week's Prophecy Update. As always, it's our desire to bring the events that are happening in the world from a biblical perspective and also a prophetic perspective. So thanks for joining us this week. What we're going to talk about this week is the summit, the World Globalist Summit that happened in Dubai. And one of the talking points that they discussed over there in this meeting about globalism was, are we ready for a new world order? And that's what I've entitled this message, and that's what they talked about over there, about ushering in this new world order. And so it's very interesting. It's no longer a conspiracy theory. They talk about it. The Bible predicted it. And so now, even if they want to call it conspiracy theorists, all we have to do now is point to them, and it comes right out of their mouths. So let's talk a little bit about that. So this year, 2022, the World Government Summit happened. They've been having these meetings, and it happened in Dubai. And it had a myriad of globalistic, leftist agendas that they want to talk about, all kinds of issues that are relevant to the globalists. But one of the top billings on their agenda was this concept of preparing to receive the new world order. Unbelievable. They're now saying it because they want to introduce this ASAP. Well, the event also featured all kinds of bureaucrats, cabinet officials, presidents of numerous countries. We had representatives from the US, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Israel, United Arab Emirates, Sweden, Jordan, Japan, South Korea, Rwanda, Morocco, Sri Lanka, Uganda, and many, many, many other countries. Okay? They sent officials or delegates to this. They had people from the military there, from the finance world, from the airline world, from technology world. They had people from the woke culture, obviously, and they had these so-called climate leaders that spoke during this event. They had IBM CEO Arvind Krishna, Ethereum's co-founder Charles Hoskinson, Joe Biden's climate advisor David Livingston, and General Wesley Clark, to name a few notables. Anyway, remember, when we point these things out, and you point them out, they're going to call you conspiracy theorists. But again, all you have to do is point to their words, point to these videos, point to exactly what they say, and so they either have to accept the facts and evidence of what these people are saying, or they stay in their denial. But it doesn't relieve us of our responsibility to be responsible in getting the information out as a watcher on the wall, so we will. But look, just a couple weeks ago, Joe Biden came out and said that we're at an inflection point and we're going to go to a new world order, and America's got to lead out in that. Listen to the video.
I think this presents us with some significant opportunities to make some real changes. You know, we are at an inflection point, I believe, in the world economy. Not just the world economy, in the world. It occurs every 3 or 4 generations. As one of the top military people said to me in a secure meeting the other day, 60 million people died between 1900 and 1946. And since then, we established a liberal world order, and that hadn't happened in a long while. A lot of people dying, but nowhere near the chaos. And now is a time when things are shifting. There's going to be a new world order out there, and we've got to lead it. And we've got to unite the rest of the free world in doing it.
Again, we showed that a couple weeks ago, but it's still relevant for people to hear. Our President of the United States is saying things like that. So if you go to their website about the World Government Summit 2022, it states the following. The World Government Summit 2022 will be held exceptionally in tandem with the closing of Expo 2020 in Dubai, the largest event of its kind that brings the world together under the theme Shaping Future Governments. Shaping them into what? Global governments, subservient governments to the global government, right? It goes on and says, the summit will bring thought leaders, global experts, and decision makers from around the globe to share and contribute the development of tools and policies and models that are essential in shaping future governments. Now, again, read through the lines. What they're saying is we're going to bring all these people in to have a Romans 1 mind and think that globalism is great when it's very satanic and very ungodly. But we're going to bring all these Roman 1 people, that contribute to global government. It's very evil. It's very wicked. And I'm not saying some of these people even know that. They don't. They're just blinded because of a Romans 1 mind, and they think this is great. See, when you have a Romans 1 mind, you lose all common sense, and you think things like this are wonderful. But the global government is absolutely satanic, right? It's totally satanic. It is Satan's way to counterfeit the messianic kingdom when Jesus rules and reigns from the throne in Jerusalem on David's throne for 1,000 years. Satan counterfeits that with this global government, and eventually he'll put his man, the Antichrist, on the throne to rule this global government. But it's a complete counterfeit, and it's evil. Anyway, if you read their statements from their website, it says the World Government Summit Organization is a global neutral. It's not neutral, it's on the side of evil. Non-profit organization dedicated to shaping the future of governments. No, it is. What you really have to understand, it's not shaping the future of governments. It's going to force governments to comply with this global government. That's what they'll do. They'll force them to comply. They will trap all the nations, okay, through all of what they're doing. It goes on and says the summit, in its various activities, explores the agenda of the next generation of governments. Oh, next generation of governments? That will mean the next generation of governments will bow a knee to the global government. And they go focusing on harnessing innovation and technology to solve universal challenges facing humanity. So let's read between the lines here. What they're saying is, look, we're going to harness technology to force this on people. We're going to use technology to create a digital currency and then use technology to put it on people's bodies. So therefore, we can track where everybody's at and track their buying and selling. That's what they mean by harnessing innovation and technology. And again, it's not me saying it. They already said it. All you have to do is read the World Economic Forum's website, and they talk about this, right? It's all over the place. And on its website, it continues to say, since its inception in 2013, the summit has championed the mission of shaping future governments, creating globalism, forcing globalism, and creating a better future for humanity. See, this better future for humanity is what the elites think is best for you and I. And it doesn't include freedom, it includes slavery. The global elites think they're gods. They think that they know better. Again, they have a Romans 1 mind that's being satanically influenced by Satan, obviously, to do crazy things like this. But they think they're the masters of the universe and they're going to shape our future for our better. No, what they're going to do is enslave us. They're going to destroy the economy and make everybody poor globally. How do I know that? Revelation chapter 6 tells me that. They're going to usher in wars because no one wants to comply with this. There's going to be 3 world wars in the 7-year tribulation, right at the beginning, when one of the seal judgments, at the middle, and then at the end called Armageddon. The one in the middle is where Antichrist disposes 3 of these 10 global rulers, and the other 7 submit to him. So there's 3 world wars. So what they're planning on bringing is not peace and security like they're going to promise everybody, but war, famine, death, and a destruction of wealth throughout all the world, according to the book of Revelation. Anyway, they go on and say this. The past 7 editions of the summit have successfully established a new model of collaborative on an international playing field to inspire and enable the next generation of governments. Oh, notice the word international, that this is going to go global, this is going to be international. So you can kind of read between the lines in what they're trying to say here. It is a implementation of a loss of sovereignty of local governments to a global sovereignty. That's what it's saying. And so what I want to highlight is one of their agendas and what they talked about at this summit. And one of the items was, are you ready for the New World Order? That was one of their talking points, okay? And they detail this out on their website about this agenda item. Are we ready for a New World Order? And they introduce it as, they say, diplomacy is being redefined by unprecedented threats and opportunities on the global stage, such as COVID-19 pandemic and the digital landscape. Such developments, coupled with geopolitical trends, are shifting global dynamics, where emerging powers are exerting new influence. In this session, global thought leaders share their reflections on the changing world order and its impact on the course of history, illustrating the need for a new statecraft that advances trust, inclusion, and future preparedness. Doesn't that sound great? Now, what they're saying is, hey, the crises that we created, we're going to come and solve them, and we're going to solve them with more control and more surveillance and controlling your buying and selling by a global government. That's really what they're saying. That throughout this chaos that happened, and the chaos they're referring to is all these crazy crises that they created, like the threat of carbon emissions to the planet, racism threat, crisis. What other crisis have economic crisis that they created? Fossil fuels crisis. We're running out of gas and oil because they won't let anyone drill. They're going to wind and solar, which is completely unreliable, and it's not even going to work. So that's a crisis they created. They create crises to fix them, but fix them with more control. We have a crime crisis all over the globe. We'll fix that. We'll be able to monitor where people are going because we're going to put a chip in them so that we can know where they're going, and so therefore we're going to cut the crime. And then with a digital currency, that would eliminate crime because there's no under-the-table deals. There's not going to be cartels and drug deals and anything like that. Oh, this is going to be wonderful. We're going to create a utopia. But really what it is slavery. It's destruction of freedom for the global elites to have control. So their words sound nice, but you have to read between the lines. It's evil. And of course, who was there? Well, our well-known friend from the World Economic Forum, the kingpin of global government, the Great Reset's Klaus Schwab. Now, like I said before, this guy's evil. He has evil intentions. He even sounds evil. To me, he sounds like someone from a James Bond movie, right? Dr. Evil or something like that, right? I know it's kind of funny, and I don't mean to make fun of him, but my goodness, he plays the part very well. But anyway, I want you to listen to Klaus Schwab. This guy's evil. That's just all there is to it. He's just evil. And what he wants to accomplish is an evil thing. It's a plan of Satan, right? And whether or not he knows he's serving Satan or not, it's irrelevant. He is serving him, whether he knows it or not. Anyway, watch this video. I'll come back afterwards and we'll talk about it.
Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it's my great honor to participate for the 8th time at this important meeting, even if only in a virtual way. I would like to express my high respect to His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum for having taken the initiative for creating such an important global platform for governments shaping the future. I also want to congratulate Dubai for having organized such a successful World Expo despite all the repercussions of the global pandemic. Last November, in partnership with His Excellency Mohammed Al-Gargawi, we brought together 60 top intellectual thinkers here in Dubai. Thank you to His Excellency for enabling this initiative to define a longer-term narrative to make the world more resilient, more inclusive, and more sustainable. With all the current issues on our agenda, we tend to forget that we are in the midst of the 4th Industrial Revolution, which accelerates global change in much more comprehensive and faster ways than the previous 3 revolutions. I'm proud that the government of Dubai has been so foresighted in establishing a Center for the 4th Industrial Revolution in cooperation with the World Economic Forum. The objective is to quickly recognize the potential of new technologies, as well as develop the necessary ethical and political frameworks around those new technologies to ensure that those technologies are human-centered and society-oriented. The world has to overcome not only the damage done to our economies and our societies by COVID-19, it also has to confront the repercussions of a dangerous clash between major global powers. History is truly at a turning point. We do not yet know the full extent and the systemic and structural changes which will happen. However, we do know that global energy systems, food systems, and supply chains will be deeply affected. In times of crisis, the role of governments is more important and more relevant than ever. What is also needed is a summit like this one to go beyond crisis management and to look into constructive ways we can build our common future. Our futures are intrinsically connected to one another, as the profound challenges to mankind, such as climate change, are globally interconnected and require collaborative responses. In conclusion, and despite all the challenges, we have to uphold our responsibility, which we have towards the next generation, and which we can only fulfill through collaboration on a national and on a global level. I wish you an impactful and successful meeting.
So here's the mastermind, Klaus Schwab, behind all of this. And like he said, let's highlight a few things he said. He says, we want to make the world more resilient, inclusive, and sustainable. All those words, inclusive, sustainable, come right out of the woke agenda, right? Right out of the socialistic Marxist playbook and the globalist playbook. Inclusive, like I've talked about before, inclusive means that they want to branch this out into all countries so they can put all people under it in the entire world. So that's what they mean by inclusive. Sustainable, it just simply means this: when we get your digital currency on you, we will limit what you can buy and sell based on carbon footprints, how much gas you took this week, and how much gas money you spent this week. We're going to limit you on how far you can drive because we're going to save the planet, right? Because that's what sustainable means. So Klaus goes on to say, with all the current issues on our agenda, and it was a long agenda on this summit thing, we tend to forget that we are in the midst of the fourth industrial revolution. Now, what is that? What is the fourth industrial revolution? Well, we've talked about this before, but it is Klaus Schwab's idea that we're going through an industrial revolution, and this fourth one is a merging of technologies like artificial intelligence, gene editing, and advanced robotics that kind of blur the lines between the physical, digital, and biological worlds. That's what he's talking about, is merging these things with the biological world. That meaning we're going to merge AI, we're going to merge digital, we're going to merge, technology to your body. We're going to implant things in your body. It's going to be a post-human world, right? And that's how they are going to be able to track and sell the buying and selling of everybody and the location of everybody and what people are doing. That's what the fourth industrial revolution means. So he goes on, he says, did you notice he says, which activates the global change in faster ways in discussing this fourth industrial revolution. In other words, because of this technology, it has made things go light speed in getting the global government in place. And that's what he's talking about, because now we do have the technology to track the buying and selling of every human being. We do have the technology to go digital. We do have the technology of putting a chip in your body and your body telling that chip everything that's going on inside of it, even your thoughts and your emotions. And also regulating your body, telling you that, hey, you need to get some exercise today. Hey, too much sugar today. Whatever it might be, they're going to regulate that. And so that's what he's talking about. So this technology has put the global government on light speed. He goes on to say that we need to quickly recognize the potential of new technologies, as well as develop the necessary ethical and political frameworks. What kind of ethics or political frameworks is Klaus Schwab talking about? Because it's not biblical ethics or morality. He's talking about global wokeism, ethical and political frameworks. That's what he's talking about. Fascism, communism, socialism, all those kinds of things. Marxism. That's what he means by political. Ethical, it's Babylonianism. It's the opposite of what God says, right? And he goes, we're going to put those things around those new technologies to ensure that those technologies are human-centered and society-oriented. Oh, it doesn't sound great. No, it's going to be this. If you don't comply ethically, morally, or politically, we'll just shut you off. We'll shut you off from your currency. We'll shut you off from participating in society. We will censor you, and you will be an outcast if you don't play ball. That's what he's saying. He continues on and says, in the time of crisis, the role of governments is more important and more relevant than ever. Oh, the crises that you created, right, Klaus, and your buddies? And he goes, we need to go beyond crisis management and to look into constructive ways we can build our common future. Oh, yeah. This common future is globalism, a wonderful utopia where everything gives you peace and security, right? A false peace and a false security. And he goes, our futures are intrinsically connected to one another as profound changes to mankind, such as climate change, which is fake, are globally interconnected and require collaborative responses. Doesn't this sound great? We need to all work together. Kumbaya, let's form a global government to solve global issues. That's what he's really saying is we have created global issues, and so we need a global government to solve global issues. That's what he's saying, okay? And he goes, history is at truly a turning point. It truly is because they're doing it. We do not yet know the full extent and the systemic and structural changes which will happen. Oh, you don't? I think you have a good plan, Klaus. He goes on and says, however, we do not know how the global energy systems, the food systems, and the supply chains, how they will be deeply affected, but we know they're going to be deeply affected. Oh, so if they're going to be deeply affected, then who's going to control them? Oh, you. So the global intent is to control energy systems. That's why they want you all off of fossil fuels and want you on electric, because with electric they can control it. They want to control the food supplies. That's why they're destroying the farming industry. And then they want to control the supply chain. And if you control the supply chain, you can control what gets delivered and what doesn't. So they are going to affect that. So there's Klaus Schwab. But now I want you to listen to Becky Anderson from CNN, who hosted the event. Listen to her comments. Watch this video. We're going to come back and talk about it.
Very, very good morning on what is the first official day of World Government Summit here at Dubai Expo 2020. And the title of this session, are we ready for a new world order? Well, the organizers here are nothing if not ambitious. This is, I think you will agree, a daunting subject for discussion at just after 9 a.m. on a Wednesday morning here in the relative calm of Expo 2020. But tackle it we must, because I believe what is clear is that we have hit an inflection point. We are certainly living in a unique age of uncertainty and volatility in global affairs. Whether you are from the global north or the global south, we have all collectively lived through the twilight zone that was the pandemic and the changes to our social, our digital, and our fiscal landscape that COVID-19 wrought. And just as the world re-emerges from the pandemic, we are faced with the Russian invasion of Ukraine, which certainly feels like a transformative geopolitical moment. Coming as that does, against a backdrop of great power struggles, the emergence of middle powers, of climate crisis, and cybersecurity challenges, the trend lines certainly seem to indicate a world headed in a disorderly direction. Is the US-led multilateral system created post-World War II to manage international relations so that the world would never again see and experience the same chaos and disorder of a world war? Is it anything like fit for purpose? And if not, what is the alternative? That is the purpose of this discussion today, so let's get on with it.
Notice what she asked in the video. Are we ready for a new world order? And that the world has hit an inflection point? The funny thing is, that's what Biden said a few weeks ago. We've hit an inflection point. And he talked about a new world order. Now, wait a second. Are they all getting the same memo, the same talking points? Because it's funny. How come Joe Biden uses the word inflection point and new world order? And here's Becky Anderson of CNN using the same words, inflection point and new world order, at the same time. Here's the thing. Yes, they all are getting the memo. They're all on the same page. These are the talking points of the globalists, and they're all using it. Anyway, Anderson in that video said, is the US-led multilateral system created post-World War II to manage international relations so that the world would never see and experience the same chaos and disorder of a world war? Is it anything like fit for purpose? What she is in effect saying is, look, we're tired of the US leading and being the policeman of the world. We want to create a new world where the US takes a backseat to the global government. That's what we're saying, because the US is not fit for that purpose anymore. The global government is. That's what she's saying. And then she goes on, if not, what is the alternative? Well, they already know it's not, and they don't want the US leading it. The alternative is their global government, right? And then here's another one that spoke at this conference. This is Dr. Pippa Malmgren. She was a special advisor to President George W. Bush, who is another globalist, by the way. And she goes on to talk about this new digital currency that's going to be part of the New World Order. So watch this video. I'll come back and talk about it right after this.
What underpins a world order is always the financial system. I was very privileged. My father was an advisor to Nixon when they came off the gold standard in '71, and so I was brought up with a kind of inside view of how very important the financial structure is to absolutely everything else. And what we're seeing in the world today, I think, is we are on the brink of a dramatic change where we are about to, and I'll say this boldly, we're about to abandon the traditional system of money and accounting and introduce a new one. And the new one, the new accounting, is what we call blockchain. It means digital. It means having a almost perfect record of every single transaction that happens in the economy, which will give us far greater clarity over what's going on. It also raises huge dangers in terms of the balance of power between states and citizens. In my opinion, we're going to need a digital constitution of human rights if we're going to have digital money. But also, this new money will be sovereign in nature. Most people think that digital money is crypto and private. But what I see are superpowers introducing digital currency. The Chinese were the first. The US is on the brink, I think, of moving in the same direction. The Europeans have committed to that as well. And the question is, will that new system of digital money and digital accounting accommodate the competing needs of the citizens of all these locations so that every human being has a chance to have a better life? Because that's the only measure of whether a world order really serves.
So notice what she said. She said, what underpins a world order, what she's referring to as the New World Order, is always the financial system. She's totally right. You've got to have a financial system if you're going to have a global government. Totally. She's right on point with it. Even though she's evil, she does make the point. And what we're seeing in the world today, I think, she says, is we are on the brink of dramatic change where we are about to abandon the traditional system of money. She's talking about capitalism, and cash and things in your hand that are tangible. And then she said, and accounting, and introduce a new one. And the new accounting is what we call blockchain. Well, a digital currency blockchain is what she's referring to. So we're going to abandon the free market system of capitalism. We're going to go to some, what we call, and this is what they're referring to, because this is what the globalists want, a global fascistic system is really what they're wanting, and it's going to be backed up by a digital currency blockchain. That's what she's saying. She goes on to say, as you heard, it means digital. It means having an almost perfect record, now listen to this, of every single transaction that happens in the economy. Hey man, that's real scary. She wants that. They want it. They want a record of every single transaction. Whatever you and I buy, they want to know. And she admits that, which will give us a far greater clarity over what's going on. No. That's a violation of our our privacy laws. You don't get to know what I'm purchasing. That's none of your business. And yet they're making it their business, because that's what happens when you go digital, is they will know what's going on, in her words. And then she backpedals a little bit and says, it also raises a huge danger in terms of balance of power between states and citizens. Oh, does it? And what are you going to do to solve that? Because yes, it does. It means that the state or the government or the global government will have all the power over every citizen if they control the buying and selling and know what the person's spending on. It's a big problem. You'll become a slave. So what she's really referring to is this balance of power is really about governments controlling you. That's what it's about. And like she said in the video, in my opinion, we're going to need a digital constitution of human rights if we're going to have digital money. Let me tell you this. They are not going to have a digital constitution. They don't care about human rights. That's the least of their concern. They're going to do it, and they're going to do it the way they want it. They don't care about human rights. But she has to say that, but she knows good and well they're not worried about our rights. And what really is all of this about? The digital currency is programmable and it's traceable. And there is no rights in that. It's programmable, and how much is being spent. They can limit you. They can give you bonuses for spending on ESG, or diversity, inclusion, equity types of things. They can give you bonuses for that, or they can take away your ability to spend money on whatever they don't want you to spend on, like gas. So you've spent too much gas, or you can't buy any ammo or guns, or you can't buy any more survival food, or you can't buy this or that. It doesn't matter. Whatever they deem. That you can't do that because that's hurting the planet. You can't travel and go on your little luxury vacations because you've traveled too much, or you can't go here or can't go there. That's what this is about, and it's all traceable. The technology that they have and they want to implement is they're going to put it in our bodies. That's where it's going. They want it to be on our bodies so that we are traceable. They can surveillance us everywhere we go. They not only know the buying and selling, they have our GPS position every day, every hour, right under their guys, right under their noses. We will lose all freedoms because of that. Leo Holman had a good article on this, and I agree with him in the article. He said this. He says the entire Great Reset hinges on two things: the establishment of a global digital currency, he's right there, and a global digital identity for every man, woman, and child. And he's absolutely right there. And by the way, when you read the World Economic Forum, it's right there in there where they talk about a digital currency, digital identification. It's all there. So Holman's right, I agree, and they want to implement this. So where do we go back to? Where is this pointing to? It points squarely right at Revelation 13, 16 through 18. Again, this passage, Revelation 13, happens at the midpoint of the tribulation. Okay? So what we're seeing right now is the buildup, the setting forth of the digital currency, the tracking system. We're seeing the global government be implemented in our day and time, and it's all going to head to the tribulation, which we won't be there for that. And then the Antichrist will rule it at that point, at the midpoint of the tribulation. So, like it says in Revelation, he causes all, this is a false prophet, both small and great, rich and poor, slave and free, to receive a mark on their right hand or on their foreheads. Again, they're working on the digital technology to implement that in your right hand or on your forehead. Okay. And that no one may buy or sell except one who has the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. Now, here's the thing. The Antichrist, we're not taking a mark right now, but they're using the digital currency to control our buying and selling. So this phrase, one may buy or sell, we're seeing it come to fruition in our lifetime, and then it'll eventually move into the tribulation that you have to have the mark of the Antichrist in order to buy and sell. But right now, you're not bowing a knee to the Antichrist per se, you're going to bow a knee to the global government, or to the United States or whatever country you're in order to buy and sell with the digital currency. That's what's going to happen. So we don't have to be afraid that we're going to go into the tribulation. We're not. But it's getting set up now prior to the tribulation. And it's like I've always said, when you look at the book of Revelation and you study it and you see that like on day one, all these things are happening, right? All of these things are in place. So what we understand now from what is unfolding right in front of us is, yes, there is a setup to the tribulation. And you and I are privy to the setup. We're watching all this get put in place. And I can guarantee you that you and I didn't expect we would see all of this. But here we are. In one sense, we're very privileged to see this, right? Because Christians for 2,000 years have tried to figure this out. But here you and I are, and we see it, we know how it's going to go down, and we can see and project into the future how the Antichrist would be able to control everybody on the planet and their buying and selling and have everyone bow in allegiance to him because of that. This system is now being implemented, and it's going to come soon. Whether it's this year or next year, it's coming, and there's no backing out. They are telling you it's coming. So with that being said, what are the implications? Well, like I've always said, we are responsible for this information. And if we know and we're connecting dots like this, then we have an obligation to tell people, whether unbelievers or believers, we have the obligation to wake them up and at least warn them. If they don't respond, then so be it. But the watcher on the wall always tells and warns what's coming. Now, what is the purpose of the warning? Because here's the thing. It's not like you and I are going to change this. If this is predicted in Scripture that they're going to a global government, they're going to have a digital currency, we can't stop that because God is allowing that. He wants that to happen for the judgment of the tribulation. Okay, so then what does warning do? Okay, well, warning number one for unbelievers is this is going down and you need to be saved and escape this through Jesus Christ, because hell is coming to earth in the form of judgment, and you don't want to be here for that. So you escape the judgment through Jesus Christ, obviously. Now, what does it mean for believers? Well, the other thing you could say is it needs to wake believers up. A lot of believers are asleep. They're not even aware that this is even happening. And so the reason we talk to believers about this is to wake them up and get them out of their spiritual slumber, because they're in Laodicea and they need to get out of that. They need to move from Laodicea to the Philadelphia church, right? And so that's part of our job. The other thing is, in even talking to the remnant, even talking to believers that are in tune with us, what is our job? Our job is to prepare them. Prophecy prepares the individual for what's ahead. One of the things you have to realize is you may not be able to stop what God has predicted, right? And we're not. God's going to ensure that it happens. But your job and my job is to prepare people. So let me use this as an example. When we saw what happened 2 years ago, or for 2 years, the whole world shut down, right? And a lot of people went into depression. A lot of people went into anxiety. A lot of people committed suicide. Lots of suicides. a lot of people checked out. A lot of people walked away from church, from the Lord, whatever, and they started isolating. All of that is no good, but all of that is a result of them not being prepared. Okay? So in our preparation for people and helping them, it's to prevent them from going into depression, having anxiety, reacting in fear, because a lot of people reacted in fear because they simply weren't prepared. But see, if you're prepared, you won't be afraid. This is why when you go to the doctor and they're going to tell you about the procedure, they tell you what they're going to do. That actually helps you not be afraid. And so telling people helps them. It prepares them for what's coming. And in that sense, they can handle it better. They won't freak out. They won't go into fear. They won't go into depression. They will be able to grasp it. And when it comes, say, okay, I need to cope. I need to use the biblical tools to cope. And I can do this with the Lord's help. I can manage this. Why? Because they have been prepared. They know mentally and spiritually what's happening. And that helps them in their coping ability with the signs of the times. Look, man, it's going to get rough. Economically, it's going to get rough. But what are you going to do? Well, instead of worrying about so much what you're going to do with your money, worry, or I shouldn't say worry, but think and prepare how you're going to manage, how you're going to cope. Because this is what's going to be required of us. You will have to trust God on His provision economically for food, whatever, okay? You will also have to trust God in His protection of you because they're going to surveil you. They're going to know where you're going and coming and all that. You have to trust God in His protection of you when you speak the truth because if they don't like what you say, they can shut you down economically. So you're going to have to trust in God in many, many ways. And so what I would say is, let's start understanding what we need to trust God for. His protection, His provision. Will God be with us always? Yes, that's His presence. Do you trust God's character, that He can take care of us? That He's a good Father. He's not going to leave us out there in the wind with no resources. Again, I don't know all the answers, but I know when I get there, God will provide the answers, and I'll just, by faith, have to trust Him until I get there and cross that bridge. So that's what we have to do when we understand all this is going down. It shouldn't scare us. It should prepare us. And it should give us that obligation that why are we still here? Why hasn't the rapture happened? Because God wants us to sound the warning. If we don't do it, who is? Who is going to sound the warning? Now, some of these other talking heads that are not Christians, they can connect a few dots, but they can't go all the way like you and I can to tell people how to truly escape. And how to truly escape is through Jesus Christ. That's what we need to be about. Getting people lost on that rescue boat of Jesus Christ and waking up believers and helping them prepare for what's coming. That's our job. That's our duty. And with that being said, you and I can do that. So we need to step up our game and start telling the truth to people. Start warning, getting them ready, okay? And remember, Jesus said, when you see all these things begin to happen, look up, lift up your heads, for your redemption draws near. What that means is that we're getting closer to seeing Jesus and that we're getting closer to going to heaven in that rapture. So we're that close, guys. We're that close. So let's be about our Father's business, okay? Anyway, with that being said, a few concluding remarks. Make sure you have a Rumble account. We're on BitChute now. And make sure you have those accounts because that's where we're generally not edited. This program might be on YouTube, and I don't think it's going to get edited. It's going to get taken down. So it probably should be good. But on other programs, we can't use it on YouTube. So make sure you have your Rumble and BitChute account. Second, make sure you're on our text alert system. We want to get as many people on that text alert system because if we ever get shut down or we're doing different things or we need to make a call out to everybody, we can just simply text your phone. So follow the link, put your information in. It won't confirm anything. Just as long as you put your information in, you're in the system, okay? And lastly, pray for us. Pray for us because we get hit by demonic attacks people hate us. They don't like us getting the truth out. So we get hit from all fronts. Pray for us. And also, if the Lord puts it on your heart to help us financially, we could use all the help we could get. We're building a building. We're trying to expand our ministry, and we want to keep this vital ministry of our online ministry going because it feeds thousands around the world. And so we want to keep this going. So we got a lot of irons in the fire. We're doing a lot of ministry, even as a small church, but it takes finances. So if the Lord inclines on your heart to help us, we would deeply appreciate that. Anyway, as the Lord says, when you see these things begin to happen, look up, lift up your heads, because your redemption's drawing near. God bless you. We'll see you next time.